the CBA gets a little out of hand, and I give my 2 cents on Xbox's acquisition of Activision. Say that 3 times fast on this episode of Nonsense. Welcome back. I'm your host, FM Bob. Welcome back to the show. I know I'm late. I'm extremely late. It's been a couple days since you guys have heard from me, but I'm busy and I have my own goddamn life. So, oh well. No worries though. I have made up with all the makeups I can make up with. So you will be getting more than enough content coming soon to make up for the 1 week I was out. Anyway, let's just jump right into the show, right? Why don't we? Huh? I'm clean. So again, welcome back to the show. Welcome to the video if you're watching on video, and if you're listening, check out the video. You don't always have to listen on Spotify. Check out the video too. And if you're on YouTube, you don't always have to watch the video. Jump on Spotify or iTunes or anything else. It's everywhere. Anyway, so the CBA, I would like to get that out the way right away because the CBA has not made news. I feel like I'm one of the few people in the world that's talking about it because I find it slightly interesting. So there's a clip that I will not show here because it will probably get this whole fucking thing just ripped down off of YouTube. So I will not play it, but I will throw the video up on Facebook and everything else so you guys can watch along there. There's a small clip going around amongst small circles of people. Where during or right after a CBA game, that's the Chinese Basketball Association, a black player got off of a bus and the entire crowd just started screaming "nigger." And I don't mean just once, but a handful of times. I'd say a good solid 13, 14, 15, maybe 16 times. But it was enough. It was enough where I was just like, I thought Chinese people weren't racist. I mean, according to the news, nobody else is racist but whites. So that was kind of weird. And could have sworn we just got through the Stop Asian Hate. So it's kind of weird for us to go from Stop the Asian Hate to being called a nigger when you get off of a bus. So I was slightly confused. I was very confused. And I mean, it was weird. So the first explanation I got was that nigger in Chinese is not nigger that we think. Nigger is like the best way you can put it is an in between word, as if we would, in a basic conversation go, blah, blah, blah. I've done it a lot. I'm pretty sure I've done it tons of times on this podcast, but they were saying nigger, something like that. So you would go something, 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 nigger, thinking about the next few words to say. So it's kind of that just pause break, I guess you would call it, in between a phrase or a sentence. So that was the first explanation I got. And thanks to my residential Chinese associate, or as we call him, Daniel. By the way, make sure you purchase the Danny Says shirt, because the Danny Says shirt is super popular and I love it. But my friend Danny explained to me that, no, that ain't what it is. Chinese people are just racist. So I was kind of dumbfounded because, again, at that point, I didn't even know it was a CBA player. I just thought he was just some random dude getting off a bus being called a nigger. So, being the individual that I am and that Daniel is, we investigate. We investigate heavily. So we come to find out this was right after a CBA game. And we also found out that during that CBA game, a fight broke out. So they were just disgruntled fans, actually. And that's where things kind of got interesting because I didn't know how to feel about it. Now, let's be realistic here. There's pretty much no good reason to drop an N-bomb for most people. I am on the other side of the fence where words are words, men, sticks, and stones can break your bones, but names can never hurt you. So, yeah, that's a very harsh term. That's a very harsh word to use. But when it's not used in, like, I'm going to kill that nigger, I don't really care. It's just you're throwing an insult out. I can call you a moose 6 times out of 6, and that's on you to get offended by it. The whole nigger thing, I'm just like, if you don't get offended by it, you don't get offended by it. If you allow yourself to get offended by it, that's your fucking problem, not mine. But as I was listening to the clip a couple times, definitely they were yelling nigger, 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 nigger. And then at the very end, it was nigger, get out of China, fuck you. And I was like, all right, a little more racist than I thought, maybe, possibly. Or just because it could just be that there were fans of the opposite team, and the player himself, Sonny Weems, threw a fucking elbow and broke a dude's nose. And that kind of shit apparently doesn't happen in Chinese basketball. It's pretty clean and respectful, where, you know, misconduct of Chinese players is not common, or misconduct, I should say. Misconduct of Chinese players is not common. Games don't typically get rowdy. There's really never any fights, and that was one of the few times there was a fight. So they kind of just blamed the, you know, lowest common denominator. It didn't really happen until black people showed up, and there's a black dude here, and the black dude kind of caused the altercation. So fuck that nigga. And again, not defending the Asian dudes that are dropping M-bombs, but choose your words next time, maybe. But am I mad at him for being mad? No. Because I looked at the replay a bunch of times. And maybe he didn't connect thoroughly. Maybe it wasn't a malicious elbow, but it was an elbow nonetheless. He did catch dude in the face. It was uncalled for. And again, if you hit somebody and you didn't mean to, you typically apologize almost instantly. You walk up and go, my bad, you good, you okay, something. He elbowed him and kept on moving like it wasn't nothing, like it was nothing to it. So was it dirty? Maybe. Was it intentionally dirty? I don't think so. But it might have been just, you know, an unnecessary hit. In the NBA, that would have been a flagrant one. We would all have moved on with our lives, and that would have been the end of it. But to my knowledge, there was nothing that happened. I think they both got ejected after a secondary altercation and them actually fighting in the middle of the court. If it was just the elbow and he came over and apologized, maybe a flagrant, you know, you got one more, get out the game. I don't know how CBA rules work. But I think the whole thing blew up once there was an altercation. So, is it racist? Possibly. Maybe. I don't want to say it is. But was it deserved? Yes. Because you're a jackass. You're a jackass who threw elbows. You didn't apologize. The fans got pissed. Poor choice of words, yes. Were they rightfully so pissed? Yes. I don't see anything wrong with them being pissed. Oh, my camera's a little tilted. There we go. That was bugging hell out of me. Anyway, but yeah, it was very weird. It was very weird. I've never heard any of that shit go on before. And things like this make me feel that there's racism all across the world. I don't care what you say. Because a lot of people have gotten into this mode now that only white people can be racist. And only white people are evil and white people are mean. Dating back just a little bit ago with the Stop Asian Hate. And I have a few Asian friends. And I don't like anybody getting hurt for no reason. But I will say this. 9 times out of 10, all of those Asian altercations where Asian people were getting beat up a year or so ago, typically were all black people. There was all black people beating the shit out of Asians for no fucking reason. And I wasn't a fan of it. It actually kind of bothered the shit out of me. So I don't want it to still be a thing. I kind of want it to stop. I wasn't a big fan of it at all, you know? Like, I don't know how else to say it. It's like, I didn't like it. It kind of pissed me off. And it pissed me off 10 times more knowing that it was black people doing all of it in the first place. For no real good reason either. It was just black people beating the shit out of Asian people. But we have the nerve to say that, you know, excuse me, that all white people are racist when we're out beating the shit out of Asian people. And when I say we, I mean black people. Obviously, I'm not out there beating the shit out of Asian people. But just we as a people of blacks or African Americans, whatever you want to call yourself, are just going around beating the shit out of Asian people. It's fucking ridiculous. It's actually stupid and sad, and I didn't like it at all. And then in the same breath, you know, say that it was white people when it was us, you know, or we're saying that white people are the only racist ones. It was us. And then it's kind of weird that in the same breath of Stop Asian Hate, when they probably knew it was black people beating the shit out of them, then to have Asian people like that who are dropping, you know, N-bombs like that. And on my side, I don't feel that it's racist. I think they were just disgruntled fucking sports fans. And again, have you not seen sports fans before? Do you not remember, you know, the Rumble in Detroit or whatever they called it, where they just fans and players beating the shit out of each other? Have you never been to a soccer game before? or seen the results of soccer? Have you been to a football game where it's literally fans are tribal in their love and hatred of certain people? I'm a Chicagoan, and I hate Green Bay with a passion. I absolutely hate Green Bay with a passion. I have never really watched a Green Bay game unless they were playing the Bears. I don't even care who beats them. I just want somebody to beat Green Bay. And shout out to Green Bay for losing and dropping out of the playoffs finally, because fuck you. But again, it's a tribal thing when it comes to sports. So am I going to sit here and say that there's no anger or animosity in sports? Absolutely not. That's fucking ridiculous. Is it, harboring or a place of sometimes harsh slurs and racial slurs? Yeah, shit happens. Shit happens a lot. So it is what it is, man. I just don't want people to sit there and be like, everything's racist because of this happening. It's just like, no, people are just shitty. And when it comes to sports, that heightens our level of shitty by a long shot. Like, people are just 10 times more shitty when it comes to sports. So maybe think of that next time you want to start throwing, a race war out of nowhere. But I mean, that's just my fucking opinion on the whole subject. So on the Facebook page, and I'll probably drop a link on Twitter as well. I'll send links of the altercation that happened. So the fans being yelled at, and the only instance I could find of it being explained in clips, because all the clips are being destroyed slowly, as a British newscaster. So sorry about that. And you're gonna have to listen to a Brit for 5 minutes. But scroll through the video and you'll see him explaining and showing the clip of the hit being placed in the flagrant file and the altercation between the two individuals after it happened. And again, I'm excusing none of it, but I'm a big fan of sports is sports. And shit's going to happen no matter what, so there's really nothing you can do about it. People will just get agitated, people will get angry, and people will get a little violent. It's just how the shit works, though. I don't know else how to pretty much describe it. Just let's chill out with the race card, like wholeheartedly, and maybe let this be a lesson that all people are shitty. It's not sitting on white people alone. Black people are shitty. White people are shitty. Asians are shitty. Shit, every form of fashion up people are very shitty, to be honest. We all suck. Let's stop pretending like one of us is better than the other. We're all shitty. Every last one of us are terrible people, so it is what it is. So make sure you check that out on Facebook or Twitter or however else I can put it out there. Because I wanted to put this on a YouTube video, but I thought about it and I can get kicked off of YouTube for damn near anything at this point. And that's the last thing I want to get kicked off of, is something that's stupid and simple. And again, that's just my 2 cents. So, is what it is. So, how about we take a small break? Because this is going to be a quick, short podcast. I'm going to probably do a couple quick ones. Hopefully. But we will see how this works out. Either way, we'll take a quick break, enjoy these commercials, and we will be back with more nonsense. I'll catch you in a sec. All right, welcome back to some more nonsense. I hope that gets edited out, but it probably won't. Anyway, welcome back to Nonsense. How's it going, everyone? Did you enjoy those commercials? Hopefully you got some Chinese commercials based off of that last one. Either some Chinese or some basketball-related commercials. I don't know what kind of commercials I get. I have no control over them. But here's hoping. So, let's get to the main topic. The topic that everybody's been on my ass to talk about. Xbox purchases Activision, Blizzard, and a bunch of other shit for like $70 billion. Let's take a quick look, because I'm starting to get shit again for not researching as I go. And you know what? Fuck you guys. Let's take a quick look. Shut the fuck up. Alright, let's see. Activision or Xbox buys a bunch of shit. Xbox buys Activision. Alright, so what was the deal? Let's see. How much did Xbox buy Activision for? $6.8 billion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, so that happened. That definitely happened. It is now official. I heard rumors of it, but I don't really care. That's going to be pretty much the whole thing. Is I don't really give a shit. And a lot of people are flipping the fuck out because they're just like, well, Activision owns this, that, and the other. And it's just like, yeah, so what? So let's take this, step by step. First off, I just want people to be very clear. Xbox buying Activision means jack shit. And here's the reason why. So let's start off with the nitty-gritty basics. Xbox just bought Bethesda. And Bethesda's still making games for PlayStation as well. They're still going to continue to support all the games they have out for PlayStation. Will there be a handful of exclusives? More than likely. We got Deathloop out of, if I'm not mistaken, Bethesda. So, or it's Activision, one or the other. So we got an exclusive out of them. Was it the greatest exclusive in the world? No. Deathloop was okay. I didn't like it, but it's fine. It got bought up. So, it doesn't really. So in that sense, it doesn't mean much. It just means that now it's under the umbrella of Xbox. Everything that's been Activision, Blizzard, and I think it was one other company, but Activision, Blizzard, it's still going to be on PlayStation. They're not going to just slowly rip all your COD games away. Don't forget, Call of Duty was also heavily partnered with PlayStation, which is one of my selling points of the PlayStation being the greater console. It was heavily partnered with PlayStation, meaning all the tournaments and things of that nature were done primarily on PlayStation. To my knowledge, now I could have switched in the recent years, but in the recent past, it was pretty much just a PlayStation thing. And again, those people still play with mouse and keyboard, so don't give me that shit where I've seen them play with mouse and keyboard. You can play with mouse and keyboard on a PlayStation. Why would you? I have no idea. But you can. So things of that nature won't make a difference. But there will more than likely be Activision Blizzard style exclusives. So, in that sense, big damn deal. I could care less. Take it. Have fun. Here's where I'm more so confused with gamers. And I'm like, maybe you guys aren't paying attention. I need you to think critically for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Remember, they just bought out Bethesda. Now, Bethesda owns Fallout. We'll stay with the basics. Fallout, Doom, and Elder Scrolls. So, Elder Scrolls. We've been playing Skyrim for the last 3 consoles. They have not released anything new for Elder Scrolls. They are finally on their way to releasing something new for Elder Scrolls. And mind you, it was already too late. That game is being published on PlayStation and Xbox. So Elder Scrolls didn't matter. Fallout. Now, Fallout is a very cult classic fan base, where everybody kind of has their favorites, but they're all in unison saying that Fallout 76 was terrible. I don't think anybody liked Fallout 76 that I know of. It's pretty much unison that Fallout 76 was the worst game ever bought or ever created. So Fallout was shit. Doom, the last 2 Doom games are great, but again, few and far in between since then. So these last 2 Dooms are good. Don't forget that Doom, I think it was 3 or 4, or BFG or whatever it was called. That game wasn't that great. It was mediocre at best. The Doom movie was shit. Doom was only good probably 1 and 2, and then these last 2 games. So, and again, I don't think they're going to be cranking out a shit ton of Doom games. At some point, the market will be saturated with Doom. Again, you have to think about gamers of this generation and for this day and age. There's no real solid multiplayer for Doom. Doom is a story-based shooter. There's not much more they can do, and to me personally, I played the last 2 Dooms. The first new Doom was great. Incredible. New, fresh face game. The second Doom was just more of the same. Now again, why fix what ain't broken? But my thing is how many times can you do that before it is just no longer entertaining anymore? So at best bet, you might have 1 or 2 more Dooms. I'd say 2 before the game is completely just run dry and tapped. And again, I love Doom. I enjoy Doom. I love their soundtrack. The soundtrack for Doom is incredible. But I mean, I'm being realistic. You can only shell out a game so long before it becomes used and dried. And without any heavy innovation, there's not much more you can do with Doom. It can only be so gory and blood-filled, before it's just, you need something new. And I don't think they have the ability to make anything new now that it's under the umbrella of Xbox, who has done nothing new or innovative with any of their games since fucking forever. So let's keep that in mind. So Doom is there. So I talked about Doom and Elder Scrolls. What was the last one? Doom, Elder Scrolls, and Fallout. So no, that's everybody. So with Bethesda, now remember, they bought Bethesda a year or so ago, and there's been no talks of anything that's exclusive to Xbox. They're working on something, but I mean, who really gives a shit? So now let's switch back to Activision. So keep that in mind while I discuss Activision. Name a handful of Activision games that came out recently. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is recent. And that's just a remaster of old great games. Sekiro, which is a Dark Souls ripoff. Let's be realistic. It's a Dark Souls ripoff. Is it a good game? Yeah. Is it no different than Dark Souls? And don't forget, Bloodborne is a PlayStation exclusive, which is pretty much Dark Souls, but slightly cooler. So that's one game. Another game, let's see. Spyro and Crash Bandicoot. Now, here's why I can interject a little bit. Crash was only good for the remake of the original games. The fourth Crash, again, I'm not saying is bad, but that's it. You're not going to start hashing out new Crash games. Remember, the fan base, or the new generation of fans, pretty much hated it because it was difficult. And only older players really gave a shit. And they do not market games, sadly enough, to older generation players. We get our little sprinkle of, remasters every once in a while, and then they make nothing else for us. Crash essentially is probably going to die. Again. It might, I'm just hope against hope. They might release one new game. But to think that they're going to release a bunch of new Crash games or a bunch of new Spyro games, you're out of your fucking mind. They don't do that. Xbox, mind you, barely does kid games that well in the first place. So you think they're going to really hold on and produce more for your characters? Absolutely not. What else? Yeah, Skylanders and shit like that. So just a bunch of bullshit that no one gives two shits about. Now, the thing that everybody's flipping a fuck about is Call of Duty. So everybody's up in arms and paranoid that now Xbox owns Call of Duty. So I need you guys to focus just a little bit. Hold on. I'm making a point. Let's think of the last 3-4 COD games. You had Modern Warfare, which was really good. Then you had World War II and Vanguard and Cold War. So it's the last 4 games. World War II, Modern Warfare, Vanguard, and Cold War. Modern Warfare is good. Cold War is trash. It was obviously known to be a terrible game. The story mode was non-existent, and I sat there and tried to play it myself, and it was just impossible to play. So we can wipe Cold War completely out of the books. Then comes Vanguard. How many of you guys play Vanguard? Seriously? And actually care? Be realistic. No one gives two shits about Vanguard. The only thing you guys still play is Warzone. And guess what? I'm pretty sure that Call of Duty is not dumb enough to keep something like Warzone proprietary to Xbox. The whole big thing about COD becoming more popular than it ever been in years was not only was a battle royale that worked, but cross-platform play. So you kind of need to hold on to cross-platform play to still take monies from two different sides of gamers. You are not going to pigeonhole that shit to only Xbox users. Also, Warzone still exists for PlayStation. So unless they make a new form of Warzone, you still will have Warzone. By the way, how many of you really care about Warzone anymore? I know a good shit ton of gamers that are very just done with Warzone in general. That's slowly becoming new Fortnite. And a lot of you guys just never care in the first place. I personally could care less about it, Call of Duty at all anymore, for the simple fact that it takes up 90% of my hard drive. Xbox, you can have it. You want to clutter up what little hard drive space you have? By all means. I'm not going to miss it. I solely realized the last time I attempted to download Call of Duty. It took up 250 gigs on a console that barely has a terabyte. Fuck off. I'm not playing it anymore. I'm done. And again, the last 2 have been terrible. Vanguard and Cold War are 2 terrible games. Nobody plays those multiplayers at all. So, what are you defending? What are you worried about losing? I get it. It's a great shooter. Call of Duty is still a good shooter. It's, it has the member berries and the fun and all of that. But let's be realistic. It'll be okay. Once they realize that they're losing money and they're trying to cater to only Xbox users, and mind you, Xbox users are going to play Halo. So that means now Call of Duty has to solely compete with Halo. And at least Call of Duty was fine being cross-platform, So that PlayStation users were probably going to continue to play COD. So, sure, fuck off. I could care less. And here's the reason why. Another reason why I could care less about Call of Duty getting bought up. PlayStation and Sony still own a brand called SOCOM. SOCOM was a very good game, just very underutilized. So if they want to revamp a shooter, now would be the time to bring back SOCOM. Call of Duty really needs a competitor, and no one's really been competing against them in a while, except for Battlefield, which we all have universally said the last Battlefield was trash. So here's what could happen. Now here's a possibility. Let's say this happens the way you think it's going to happen. Call of Duty and Activision say, nope, we're going to stick with Xbox solely. I really don't care, but I'm really hoping that this doesn't happen next. The next big hitter is EA. EA gets bought up by Sony and PlayStation. So now we have, mind you, as terrible as EA has been, but being under an umbrella company like Sony that will force them to push quality instead of garbage. Your Maddens will now be fixed. NBA Live might make a resurgence because let's be realistic. I mean, I'm not saying that NBA 2K is bad, but NBA 2K has run its course with no competitors. So you bring back Madden being a great game again, possibly. NBA Live finally making some form of resurgence as some form of good basketball game. Don't forget, NBA and NFL Streets were a thing. And PlayStation has no problem making arcade games. So now you might have the resurgence of sport games. EA also owns Medal of Honor and Battlefield. So if they really want to be stingy with Call of Duty, PlayStation will have no problem being stingy with Battlefield and Medal of Honor. Two solid competitor shooter games. So that means we will still have shooters. Don't forget we still own companies like SOCOM. So SOCOM, I don't remember who makes SOCOM games. Let's take a quick look before I run my mouth too fucking far and then forget. Let's see. SOCOM video game. So the last SOCOM game was on PS4 and it was made by publisher Sony Interactive Studios. So Sony 100% owns SOCOM. So Sony can make a new shooter game. And don't forget, Sony paired with VR. So the last SOCOM I clearly remember, SOCOM 4 being a PlayStation Move-based game. Now that Sony has VR, what would be better than a first-person shooter in VR? They already attempted it. It worked fairly well for the last VR game. I can't remember the game off Farpoint. So Farpoint was a great first-person shooter game. I highly suggest you guys look up some gameplay of Farpoint. Farpoint was fairly well done, and based on with their VR sharpshooter, was a nice pairing. I don't like the newer, I don't know what it's called, but it's the VR light gun. It's shaped weirdly, but the original sharpshooter was well made and felt and held damn near like a real gun. So bringing something like that back for the new PlayStation VR 2, VR 2 having new handheld controllers, a shooter in first person VR would sell fairly well. So again, you have to remember, if Xbox wants to play these games, I don't see why Sony wouldn't do the same thing. So now, not only would EA, most likely EA would be the next acquisition for Sony. I don't see it being difficult. Don't forget that EA also is partnered up with Xbox with their Game Pass, or EA Play, I think they call it. So you rip that away, Xbox Game Pass now loses all their sports games. Don't forget at that point too, there are no sports games for Xbox at all. So EA takes back sports. Now you guys are left with no sports. You guys just got MLB from us a year ago. Don't think we won't rip that shit the fuck back away from you. You will get no fucking sports. You can have 2K. I think that's all you'll have to, is you'll have 2K Sports. Unless you buy 2K Sports up as well. And if I'm not mistaken, let's see. Just for shits and giggles. 2K Sports. Who owns 2K Sports? Is 2K? Nope. 2K is their own company right now. So 2K Sports / Take-Two Interactive. Again, I know Sony to be fairly petty. If you want to buy some shit, they will buy all the sports. and then proprietary all sports to PlayStation. So not only will you lose EA, but you'll lose 2K. Do you really want that to happen? Absolutely not. So before people start, getting up in arms and, all this shit talking about PlayStation 5 is going to die because of the acquisition of Activision, let's be careful with that. Let's be very careful with that, because for the simple fact that Activision makes some solid games, but their only big heavy hitter is probably Call of Duty. And don't forget, Overwatch is a thing as well. I didn't forget Overwatch. And the only reason why I feel like I don't have to discuss Overwatch is I really don't think Overwatch is not going to allow themselves to be pigeonholed. They'll probably still try and release games for both sides, as they still are now. Overwatch 2 has been in development for like 5 years now? Still hasn't been released, and Overwatch is still fairly popular. They're not going to rip that shit away from PlayStation. And if I'm not mistaken, contractually wise, all of these games are still like contractually being published for PlayStation and supported for PlayStation. So we're not going to lose shit. It's just if they want to develop proprietary, games for Xbox only. I don't think it's going to happen. And based on what I've seen from Bethesda so far, nothing's happened. And don't forget, this isn't the first time Xbox has bought up companies. Xbox has purchased a lot of gaming companies and have utilized none of them. At this point now, what I'm starting to believe is Xbox is just throwing all of their money around to make it where PlayStation will just not have games to produce on their console. But here's the other solid problem. PlayStation still has heavy hitter games. Sony owns Spider-Man. And as much as everybody's like, well, that's all you got. Sadly enough, that's all you really need. Spider-Man is still an incredibly popular superhero. And if you want to shit talk it, don't play it. Like, you have it. But Spider-Man is enough to sell a console. They literally, in PS4 era, made a Spider-Man proprietary PlayStation 4 Pro. And it's sold. And it's still selling. And it resells for incredible rates. Spider-Man will solely sell the console. We still have the Final Fantasy series. We still have, Ratchet and Clank, which a lot of people are big fans of. We still have God of War. And mind you, PlayStation still makes games for those. So we're not losing anything at the moment. Nothing's been completely just doxed for PlayStation. It's just, they took a pretty good company and, oh well. I don't care because Activision hasn't made anything good in years. It's honestly just Xbox being out of touch once again. They buy up companies that we like, they underutilize or don't utilize them, and then they fall to the wayside. Don't forget originally what happened with Halo. If I'm not mistaken, the original company Bungie that made Halo departed, left, or Xbox got rid of them, and they went on to make Destiny. That might happen again. Don't forget, just because you own the company name doesn't mean you own the people and their ideals and the way that they work. It's already happened once with Bungie. Those people can walk away and start over. So you might have just purchased assets. So maybe you'll have the Call of Duty name. What's to say that another shooter won't come in its place? They can all leave, make a new game, and then make that game popular. It's possible. All of these things are possible. So that's why I'm not up in arms about the whole Activision buyout. It means jack shit. You just bought a bunch of names and assets. I'm fine. So the only thing I'm slightly upset about is that maybe it might be much more difficult for me to get my Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer remake. But other than that, I'm fucking fine. Like, you can have at it. Are you going to make more Tony Hawk games? I doubt it. And in all honesty, are they going to be anywhere near as good as Tony Hawk 1 and 2? Underground? Probably not. The last Tony Hawk game that came out was Tony Hawk 5, and it was jack shit. Or was it 6? Either way, the last actual Tony Hawk game that came out was hot garbage. So, enjoy. Enjoy while you can. It makes no difference. So, I'm going to take one more quick commercial break, and then we will discuss, and I won't say in more depth, but just a little more about my feelings towards Xbox and their purchasing habits. So, until then, I'll catch you guys in a minute. All right, and welcome back to Nonsense. Did you guys enjoy those commercials once again? Sorry, I need to get paid. So thanks for listening to those commercials, and hopefully eventually YouTube will come around and throw some commercials in as well. But until then, the guy can keep hoping. let's get right back to it. So Xbox buying a bunch of shit that they don't use. Like I said before, it means almost jack shit to me. I don't really care, and I don't think that's gonna save Xbox and make them the better company or help them win the console war because of all the things I previously stated. So once you knock out all of that stuff, again, I think Xbox's big thing will be the fact that they still have Xbox Game Pass. Which again, I own Xbox Game Pass. I still own an Xbox. So as much as I trash Xbox, don't forget, I still play all consoles and all games as much as humanly possible. Let's be realistic. Xbox Game Pass has almost no games at all, except for your proprietary huge console games, Gears of War, Halo, Forza. It's pretty much the big things that are pushing Game Pass forward, and I play those games literally zero. I always dabble in Forza just because I do like Forza and I like their environments. Their environments is what sells me on Forza. I still feel like Gran Turismo is a better visually aesthetic racing game, but either way it goes, I don't like racing simulators, so the racing simulator genre is kind of garbage to me. I do enjoy much more arcadey style racing games. So that's why I continuously play games like Blur, which sadly enough will be gone because of Activision, but they weren't making, let's be realistic, they weren't making Blur again anyway. If you guys don't know Blur, I might stream or play that at least once or twice. But I play games like Blur, and what's the other one? Mario Kart. Those are racers that I actually enjoy. It means nothing to me that they're keeping Activision at the moment, and I don't really care for Forza that heavily. So, other than your two main hitters in Forza, I don't really see the point in Game Pass. Game Pass is just a good way for Xbox users to not purchase games separately. But since that was your saving grace and that was your big sell, and that PlayStation Now is kind of hot garbage, I have news for you, and hopefully this is new news to you, and I'm not terribly late. PlayStation is pretty much teasing that they are releasing their own version of Game Pass. Now, it's been teased that they were going to do this for a while, but now it's getting very serious. Now that PlayStation Now cards are starting to be ripped out of stores. They want no PlayStation Now cards available in stores. They have made no new updates to PlayStation Now within the last month or so, I've noticed. So, based on that alone, I think they are actually going to revamp PlayStation Now. And it came as a shock to some, and a weird teaser to others, because a lot of people were looking at this new teaser from Sony, where they kept mentioning 1, 2, 3. So they were thinking it was backward compatibility, which would be nice. But I think at this point, still, backward compatibility to PlayStation 3 is still fairly fucking difficult because of the way PlayStation 3 was built. It was technically sound, it was technically marvelous, but it was just so difficult for developers to make games on it. It was so difficult for game companies to make games for Xbox 360 and PS3 that PS3 is just really hard to emulate in general. So I don't think there was going to be full emulation, but with a new version of Game Pass, this would be their form of backward compatibility. Now, I don't know how it works yet. I don't know how they're planning on this to work. It might just be a subscription-based system, which is fairly simple enough, and then it'll just add a nice library of games to it ever so often. More than enough for me. There's not much I want to play. There's not much I care for. But making playing older games much more simple would be great. Now, as a collector, I probably will have no use for it because half of the great games of the old PlayStation eras I still own. And I have no problem playing, and I have no difficulty in playing those games. And I actually prefer to play certain games as they were originally intended on their original console. Every time that they try and re-release games, it seems like the controllers get more and more wonky as time goes on. So I'm fine with playing my games how they were originally played and pushed out. I enjoy, and I will probably never stop collecting. I've definitely slowed down recently because of my house purchasing hunt. Hopefully that will turn out fairly well by summer this year. The plan is to move by summer this year, but because of funding and money, I don't know. But that's beside the point. Yeah, no. So with that, I think the new PlayStation subscription would be a great idea. Definitely harping on older games would be a great thing because PlayStation definitely had some of the best games definitely coming out of the PlayStation 2 era. The PlayStation 2 era was chock full of so many great games it wasn't even funny. And I don't know how subscription-based games work, especially doing older games because of developers and companies and everything switching sides and being bought up and liquidated and all this kind of stuff. So some games might not make a return, but there's a handful of games that I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing come up. Games like The Bouncer, which a lot of people don't even know exist. The Bouncer was a great game for PlayStation 2. I really hope they get to showcase that once again. The Final Fantasy series being, repushed out there. Now, again, the first 3 games, if I'm not mistaken, were on Nintendo, but they've been re-released 1,000 times over. I would like to see them re-released, but I know for sure PlayStation will have full access to 7, 8, 9, and 10. All of these games which have recently had re-releases and are pretty much available on all forms and services. But again, just having that available in a subscription-based system would be pretty cool. The Final Fantasy series for sure. Some more SOCOM games, Resistance, Killzone? I think it was Killzone. I don't remember, but it was a pretty dope shooter from way back. That I think should make a comeback as well. So PlayStation in general just has a shit ton of games I could sit here and list forever. Infamous as well. I really think Infamous should be re-released heavily. I'm so very ecstatic of an Infamous game getting re-released because Infamous was great. The first one I was kind of iffy about, but once you learn to love it, the first Infamous was great. Infamous 2 blew my mind. The little technological jump in what it was and what it became. Infamous, if I'm not mistaken, was First Sons. Incredible. I literally bought my PlayStation 4 because of Infamous. At that point, I'd watched that commercial 1,000 times over, just looking forward to it. And moving from electric powers to having new powers like smoke, rock, neon, things of that nature. Definitely a nice Seattle, West Coast vibe to the character, but still great nonetheless. All of those games definitely need to be repushed out there. Obviously, people are still big fans of the Uncharted series. Tomb Raider probably getting a second chance, and Shine as well. I don't think Xbox still has rights to Tomb Raider, and I don't know why they had rights to Tomb Raider ever, because all they did was kind of ruin the series. Tomb Raider was a great series from start to the brand new re-release, the first one. After that point, it kind of went downhill once Xbox somehow got their hands on some kind of exclusivity to it. Because I remember at one point, one of the games came out first on Xbox. We had a full year to wait before it showed up on PlayStation. And then when I got it, it was hot garbage. So Tomb Raider could care less, but the rest of the Tomb Raider games I would love to see be replayed again. And again, I think I'll probably be replaying those games regardless. But yeah, there's a ton of games that can be put out on a Game Pass, and then all of the newer games, obviously, being pushed out that way, would be great. What I could care less, I definitely like and care about the content and games that they can put out. What I would like is for them to do what Xbox, for some reason, cannot do. And that's to maintain a cloud-based system that works. And what I mean by that is Xbox Game Pass was pretty much sold to me not for the simple fact that I had access to Xbox games. It was the fact that I could play Xbox games from my phone. That was my big selling point. That's all I really cared about. I could attach my Bluetooth controller and play Xbox games. Xbox seemingly like they have not developed that technology fairly well yet. Some games work, some games don't. Some games are able to be used with touchscreen, some games are not. The reason why I feel like Sony can do it and do it much better is because Sony has remote play ability. What I mean by that is my PS4 is at home or PS5 is at home. I can be at work or somewhere else with a solid Wi-Fi connection and connect directly to my PlayStation and play games from my PlayStation to my phone. No problem. What it's missing is just a cloud-based system where I can just pull the games directly and just play them as is. I don't need to directly connect to my console. Now, granted, directly connecting to my console gives me the ability to play games that I own that are disc-based, or games that have directly downloaded or pick up directly where I left off. What a cloud-based system can do, and what PlayStation Plus and maybe the new PlayStation Now or subscription-based service would allow me to do, is pick up games that I'm actually actively playing on my console, save, and then load from the cloud-based system, so I don't have to worry about, solid internet connection from both ends. It would be nice just to pull directly from the cloud. These things can happen fairly well with Sony. I have the utmost faith that it will happen and will be done fairly well. So at the end of the day, I think the Xbox Game Pass was a nice selling point for Xbox, but I think it will easily be outdone with what Sony can do. At the end of the day, Sony is a large company, no different than Xbox. I'm not saying that Microsoft is not a large company, probably one of the largest companies on the planet. But let's be realistic on this last note that I'm going to say about Xbox and Microsoft in general. Sony is an entertainment company. Yes, they own products as well. They have headphones, they have TVs, but at the end of the day, those are all entertainment products. They care about the quality of the entertainment products. They own, licensing to the character Spider-Man, another entertainment-based thing. Movies, entertainment-based things. A video game console, entertainment-based things. At the end of the day, Sony is an entertainment company along with other products. Whereas Microsoft is a computer company. Yes, games are made on computers, but is Microsoft in the game of selling entertainment? They're not. They sell Microsoft Word. They sell word processors that I'm surprised are still surviving to this day. I don't know how they're still surviving to this day. They make computer-based equipment software. I love my Surface. I own a Surface. It's a nice product, but do I feel like I'm gaming on it anytime soon? Absolutely not. Is it technically cool? Yeah, but it's not something proprietary or something that I must have my Microsoft Surface. Well, do I love my Sony PlayStations? Yes. I have Sony headphones. I have, Sony TVs at one point. I do not have them anymore because I switched over to Samsung because my phone is Samsung based. But all simplistic things that work very well. And seemingly enough, Sony works well with other products, no problem. I've noticed a trend of Microsoft products not working well with other products. You never see a Microsoft device working well with, an Apple thing or something like that. You know what I mean? It's always seemed like it's Microsoft Windows. That's it. Nothing else really. And again, I could be wrong, but that's just my 2 cents and thoughts. I feel like just Sony is just a bigger, better company and develops things of nature that most people just take for granted to a certain degree. And at the end of the day, there's only one more thing that I feel like no matter what Xbox does, they will still never outdo Sony. Let's not forget that at the end of the day, until Xbox can fully go cloud-based and digital, they still got to pay a chunk of change to Sony because Sony still owns Blu-ray. So if that's not the mic drop of all mic drops, I don't know what is, man. Those dudes can't even print a game right now without supporting Sony in some way. So for all you Xbox users who buy physical games still, know that you're supporting Sony in a small fraction of a way, but you're still supporting Sony. So we thank you. And on that note, I'll be ending this podcast. So to all of my friends and family and fans, the effing crew is what I've been calling you, definitely. But the effing crew, make sure that you spread and show love as much as you possibly can by liking, commenting, and subscribing on YouTube, subscribing on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok as well. I know I haven't put out TikTok content, but I do at least notify you guys when new episodes are coming up. Make sure that you subscribe or follow. I don't know how you guys do it on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. All of my podcast episodes are available there as well. And if you're listening one way, try to listen another way. See what's working for you. And make sure you share the content with others. If you think they might like it, let them know. Every little bit helps. The more time people listen, the better I get. The more I know what you guys want. And again, follow on Facebook, follow on Twitter. That's how I can notify you guys on things that are coming up. Hence, like the video that I was talking about at the beginning of the episode, I can actually show you on Facebook because if I put it with the podcast, I'll just get the whole podcast ripped away. So yeah, things that I talk about on podcasts go up on the Facebook. Don't forget, I stream on Twitch the 1st and 15th. I definitely missed this last one because I was dealing with home and family issues, but I will do a makeup stream coming soon, I promise. Yeah, just follow me on all the stuff. If you don't know, if you forget somehow where to follow me and find all my stuff, you just look at that little description area right down here. Just everybody in unison, look down. There's a description bar down there. Just click that. My link tree is in the description, and you'll find ways to connect with me all across the board. And another thing, don't forget to pick up new merchandise. FM Bob cups, too legit to quit, too stupid not to do it, in shirt and cup form. Water bottles are still available in the camo color, but not for very long. T-shirts, which I don't have with me because I actually wear and wash my t-shirts. But yeah, t-shirts, and now the new Danny Says hoodie. And again, this episode was in partially thanks to Daniel for helping me out finding new and cool information on stuff that I can talk about. So that whole CBA bit was pretty much in thanks to Daniel. So shout outs to Daniel, and buy his shirt. I split the profits with him as well because he's, I won't say a key part, but he's a good part of my podcast as well on the behind scenes. So support Daniel, buy his shirt. Support me, buy my shirts. That's how I make money, dude. So help me out. Share, listen, subscribe, do all the stuff. Share with everyone. And I will catch you guys later on. See ya.